If I could get everybody's attention, please. Welcome to our State of the City for 2016. We'd like to thank Festivities Unlimited for the meal we just had, or still having if you're still eating. Go ahead and feel free to continue. The Chamber of Commerce would also like to thank the Mayor and the City of Ottawa for the strong partnership that you have with the Chamber. We are proud to be a part of this team that has had so much success with economic development in the community. We want to send out a thank you to our 2016 Diamond members, OSL Healthcare, SABIC, Star of Rock Country, The Times, WCMY 1430 95.3 Jack FM. And also a special thank you to our event sponsor today, Exelon Generation LaSalle Station. Now if you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And now I will turn the program over to Jay LeSueur. Jay?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. After the Mayor's remarks today, we'll have a brief period of questions and answers. And so we'll get some thoughts into your mind if you'd like to ask the Mayor something after his remarks today. I can tell you that Ottawa's reputation continues to spread all across the state. A couple of months ago, I talked to a good friend of mine in the broadcasting business from Southern Illinois, and we get in touch every now and then, and he called me about an issue, and then we were talking for a little bit, and he said, what's the latest going on in Ottawa? And he's been using Ottawa as an example to some towns in Southern Illinois as a community to look at for ideas on how to improve tourism, increase commerce, kick up retail. And they said, what's the newest thing going on in town? I said, well, they're trying a new tourism hook that I think, we'll see how it works out. He said, what is it? And I said, well, it's an obstacle course. And I proceeded to describe for him about our little projects downtown where, I don't know if any of you ran into the same thing I did. I left the radio station one midday to go grab some lunch. I needed to run by the bank. I pull away from the WCMY building there on Lafayette Street, and I turn left on Clinton and get down by Home Hardware and discover Madison's closed off. So I hang a left onto Jefferson and get up to LaSalle and discover I can't make a right turn onto LaSalle because the curb's torn up there. So I go straight past the Times over to Columbus and hang a left, and I'm going to go around to Jackson. I turn on Jackson and I get back to LaSalle where they're paving between the Roxy and the American Legion. So I make a turn on LaSalle, I go back to Jefferson, back to Clinton, back to the radio station. I parked the car and walked. Please welcome the Honorable Robert Eschbach, Mayor of Ottawa.
Thank you. That reminds me, I was out Friday night and with some friends, including a lady from Chicago, and she was talking about the streets downtown. And we crossed Jefferson, which just had been paved, and I don't know, they've got this really fine surface this year. She goes, it looks like black velvet. I said, yeah, we're going to do an Elvis painting on it. So. Anyway, this is kind of a rough time to speak because there's so much that's been going on the last couple of weeks, and this is going to be anti-climate. While much of what happens in our city is pretty visible, there's a lot of things happening that might not be so obvious. And this event provides me an opportunity not only to fulfill my legal obligation to report on the state of the city every year to the council, but it allows me to share this information with you. The State of the City is a written document. What I usually do the day of the State of the City, I cross up a lot of sections because it's too long, but there's a lot of information in it if you want to go online to read in more detail. Before I go any further, I'd like to recognize the Chamber not only for all the outstanding work it does, but on a milestone that it's achieved this year, and that was the 100th anniversary of providing service to our community. And I'd like to particularly recognize the Executive Director, Boyd Palmer, his assistant, Meg Skelly, and Office Coordinator, Crystal Reagan, and its Board of Directors, which is more diverse and inclusive than at any time in its history. And by that I mean it's not a bunch of old white men like it was when I first became involved years ago. I don't know how I fit in there now either. Anyway, let me give you a little bit of an overview of some of the economic development activities in the city over the last year. I just like to talk a little bit about some things that are going on with existing businesses. And see a little time-lapse photography here, but the major industrial project this year was the building of Pilkington's replacement batch plant. It's 155 feet tall and required a continuous pour of concrete for 8 days, including being evacuated 7 times due to lightning dangers. By the end of September, the project had consumed over 72,000 man-hours of work. This $25 million investment signals the company's long-term commitment to a continued presence in Ottawa. Pilkington now has a workforce of 180 full-time employees after hiring 22 new employees in 2016. 2016 was also a key year. Maybe I should. We're getting close to the top. It was pretty amazing. Anyway, I'll go on. 2016 was also a key year for OSF St. Elizabeth Medical Center as it moved forward with a local major expansion by growing its healthcare mission to include the residents of Streator. To this end, it opened the Center for Health in Streator and transitioned the OSF healthcare up in South Ottawa. In the process, OSF welcomed more than 180 new employees to its workforce. Additionally, OSF partnered with the City of Ottawa to provide NCAT transportation services to meet the needs of Streator residents coming to Ottawa for healthcare services at OSF St. Elizabeth Medical Center. Okay, and just to the south of OSF Medical Center on the south side is a new facility going up, which is a Novak Veterinary Clinic. It'll be a brand new state-of-the-art facility, which is now under construction. Last year I talked to you a little bit about our three-pronged approach to economic development. Basically, that being the Ottawa Industrial Park and the areas that are set aside for industrial district growth on the north side of Ottawa. Second is our retail and hospitality growth on the north side, the I-80 corridor and Norris Drive. And the third is our downtown Ottawa downtown waterfront project. First, regarding the industrial park in East Route 6 has become one of the most attractive industrial parks in the state of Illinois. One positioned to quickly supply prospects with very competitive amenities and incentives. Having recently completed major upgrades to the park, the city is now focusing on developing a plan to market its many attributes. A key part of the plan is an updated industrial park website. Other tools include a use of industrial real estate broker and the winning of select site status by CSX Railroad, which serves the park. Our marketing effort in the industrial park and other sites will be considerably bolstered by the creation of the new Economic Development Corporation of North Central Illinois. This new organization is pulling public and private resources from Bureau, Putnam, and LaSalle counties to market our region as never before. I sit on the board of the corporation representing the city, and I encourage other Ottawa businesses to seriously consider investing in the EDC-NCI for short. The city has made a major financial contribution, a 3-year contribution to this project. We had many businesses in the 3-county area that also contributed. I think it's a real worthwhile effort. And our new CEO and president is in the audience, Ivan Baker. And I invite you to stand, please. We wish him luck in this endeavor. Let me talk a little bit about growth on the north side. Considerable progress has been made on the north side of town since it featured several abandoned big box stores a few years ago. A good deal of this growth has been supported by the placement of the area into a new tax increment financing district, or TIF. Recent new growth and development in this area include Rosati's Pizza and Pub, which opened in the retail mall across from Super Walmart. The Holiday Inn Express, which has benefited from a major facility upgrade, which looks very nice. The Gailey Eye Clinic will soon be relocating next year from its current downtown location to a beautiful new facility which will soon be under construction on West Stevenson Drive. Verizon is currently constructing a standalone retail store at the corner of Columbus and Etna Road. Dairy Queen Chill and Grill will soon be building a new store just south of Hardee's on North Columbus Street. And CVS plans to construct a new store next year, largely on the site of the current Family Video store, which will be relocating. We talk about downtown for a little bit. The city continues its commitment to beautify the downtown and preserve its historical commercial buildings. And we believe that continues to pay off in the creation of new and unique places to shop and dine. Beautification effort moved forward with the creation of tree and plant beds on Madison and Jefferson Streets, as well as bump outs with improved handicap accessible crossings on LaSalle Street intersections with Madison, Jefferson, Jackson, and Lafayette. The city parking lot just west of the AT&T building in West Madison is continuing to be redeveloped as an attractive parking area. And the downtown was made especially beautiful last spring through the planting efforts of Alan Howard and volunteers who planted at least 5,000 spring bulbs during the previous fall. And Alan assures me that 2017 will be even more spectacular. His crew is responsible for very much of the downtown beauty we see throughout the growing season. Speaking of volunteers, I want to thank those who donate their time to maintain the flower beds in the city and in the parks throughout the downtown. A special recognition needs to go to Stephanie Stacy, the owner of Gardens Gate, who serves as the city's volunteer horticulture advisor and mentor to our summer student workers. And Stephanie is right here. The revitalization of the downtown continued this year with the establishment of these new businesses. Fiesta Mex, a Mexican restaurant with a southern facade on the 200 block of West Madison Street, features a menu of completely homemade food. Allure, just a few doors down from Fiesta Mex. In addition to delicious food, Allure offers outdoor dining in the courtyard featuring a beautiful mural by Ottawa artist Lori Reagan, and features Ottawa's first aquarium bar. The long-awaited opening of the Lone Buffalo Brew Pub, an upscale farm-to-table restaurant on the 800 block of LaSalle Street, occurred in March, and is already drawing many new visitors to downtown Ottawa. As best I can tell, this $6 million project represents the largest single project investment in downtown Ottawa's history. The parent company of Lone Buffalo, the Tangled Roots Brewing Company, with its adjoining tasting room, is in the process of doubling its downtown craft brewing capacity and developing its own bottling and labeling capacity. Of course, it was wonderful to see C230 reopen after surviving its fire from last summer. And Ottawa was very fortunate to have its new downtown independent bookstore, the Prairie Fox, opening just a few weeks ago at the location of the previous Book Mouse. Offering a variety of upscale spa and beauty options is the Beauty Bar, which opened mid-year in the 807 building. Spaces, which features a fascinating array of new home decorations, handmade and repurposed items, collectibles and antiques, open on Main Street in the former Grandma Addicts building. And just opened on the 200 block of Main Street is Correct Hardwood, which specializes in restoring and installing beautiful hardwood floors. And Farmers Insurance business, owned by Rob Hasty, was relocated to the 200 block of West Main in a building Rob purchased and has renovated. Coming soon to downtown will be No Limits Nutrition in the 200 block of Main Street. It'll feature nutritional clubs. It's a nutritional club serving Herbalife healthy meal shakes, teas, protein bars, and fast nutrition meals on the run. And their grand opening, by the way, is Saturday. And Heartland by Hand, which will be located in this historic commercial building located at the corner of Main and Clinton Streets. The building is in the process of being beautifully restored. It will feature a wide variety of related activities, custom framing and etching, original paintings and artisan works, art-related gifts and supplies, and much more, even studio spaces for artists. And Big Doug's Barbecue is coming soon to the former Credo building. Credo is a restaurant building on Chestnut Street. So I've just gone over a dozen new businesses in the downtown area. Some other downtown happenings in the works. The 5-story asbestos-contaminated Little City building has been demolished, and it will soon be redeveloped. Thanks to the US EPA for stepping forward to demolish the structure as an emergency immediate cleanup project. And if we had not gotten the cooperation of the US EPA, the city would have been stuck with a bill which amounted to over $1 million. The city was then deeded the property and after taking proposals has sold the land to CL Realty. The new owners plan to build a 3 to 4 story building on the site with retail on the ground floor, residential options upstairs, and may include a rooftop usage. This will be the first new retail building constructed in downtown Ottawa since the Carson building went up about 55 years ago. The city also sold a historic commercial building at 616 Court Street to Ron Yankee, who has plans for some type of themed restaurant. And the Carson building was recently sold to CL Realty, which is currently finalizing exciting plans for its future usage. Also, Larry and Karen Kais continue to rehabilitate the Outer Boat Club, having just completed a complete tuck pointing of the exterior. Tom Justice has purchased the former Mr. Penguin building downtown on Clinton Street and is rehabbing it for the Justice Law Office, as well as multiple much-needed retail spaces. And when I say much needed, we are really having a hard time finding spaces for people who want to live downtown. The city also is in the process of purchasing a parking lot in the 200 block of Main Street, which will provide additional 12 or so parking spaces for customers. And I want to give some credit to the management of the Roxy Theater, both for making significant facade improvements and new theater seating, and the Roxy, I think, looks better than it has for many years. Speaking of facades, let me give you a quick update on the success of the city's facade improvement program. This program is funded by the Downtown TIF and provides matching grants to building owners who are willing to invest in improving their storefronts in the downtown commercial area. I'm pleased to report that the downtown facade investment spurred by the partnership with the city has increased from about $95,000 in 2014-15 to $179,000 current year 2015-16. With just a couple of exceptions, the downtown building facades look very good. The final major downtown streetscape project, this time on Columbus Street, is scheduled for construction next year. The city, I've been talking about this for several years, but it's finally going to go forward. We just opened the bids a few days ago. The City of Ottawa is using ITEP enhancement grant funds from IDOT for a $1 million streetscape historic lighting improvement project on the 5 blocks of Columbus Street, beginning at the Jordan Block and going down to Lafayette Street. Let me talk about our downtown waterfront plans for a little bit. Since I last spoke to you, we've made some strides, and let me tell you what they are. First of all, we've reached an agreement on the basic coal tar cleanup plan with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency and the utilities, NICOR and ComEd, who are responsible for funding the cleanup. We expect the excavation and removal of the coal tar deposits on the west side of the property to begin next year, clearing the way for development. That's really the last thing that's holding up meaningful development in that area. We're also engaged in a lengthy review process, which is nearly complete, of the original plan with a focus on moving beyond the concept to produce a detailed final plan. And the other thing I want to mention is that the City of Ottawa was very pleased to be awarded the prestigious 2016 Daniel Burnham Award for Outstanding Comprehensive Plan by the Illinois chapter of the American Planning Association in Chicago. I'm particularly proud of this recognition, named after the famous planner, Daniel Burnham, who, as I quoted in my first State of the City address, is famous for saying, "Make no little plans, they have no magic to steer men's blood." The award recognizes the value of the City of Ottawa's far-reaching comprehensive plan, which was updated in 2014. The riverfront concept is a key part of that plan, and I think, as the APA concluded, it shows the city remains steadfast in its commitment to bold plans that will shape the future of this beautiful and historic city. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about some of the programmed activities we have downtown to encourage the visitors to visit and shop downtown. These are a series of festivals that not only bring in visitors but are enjoyable for our residents as well. We begin the year with Morel Fest. This year we built up the attendance. The 2016 Fest was especially successful due to a bumper crop of morels in the area, because it does involve a hunt. And the home brew home brewed beer portion of the event also continues to grow. The Ottawa Two Rivers Wine and Jazz Fest this year was hampered by intense heat for a while, but nevertheless we attracted approximately 4,500 paid attendees, mostly from the Chicago suburban areas. In addition to 17 wineries from across the state, the 2016 festival offered craft beer brewed right here in Ottawa, Illinois, and featured the outstanding Ladies of Chicago jazz vocalists. The Ottawa Noon Rotary also served a record number of lobster dinners. This year's Riverfest celebration was also a great success. The festival was cut back to 3 days this year, and for the first time an entrance fee was charged. Over 7,000 guests enjoyed 3 evenings of great music, food, and good company. The Scarecrow Fest was bolstered by beautiful weather this year and dozens of very creative scarecrows throughout the downtown. The festival filled the downtown with children and families having a great time, and I'd like to thank the Downtown Ottawa merchants for sponsoring and organizing this wonderful family event. Oktoberfest, the traditional German celebration of beer, brats, and polka, and much more, is a personal favorite. Thanks to the Ottawa First for sponsoring this very enjoyable event. And I'm pleased to announce the establishment of a new Christmas holiday event, the Ottawa Kris Kringle Market. Closely patterned after the popular Kris Kindle markets held in European cities and in Chicago and Naperville. We are holding the first market on the weekend of December 11th, the weekend of December 10th and December 11th. This event will feature 10 authentic German huts filled with everything from traditional German holiday food specialties, baked goods and beverages, to a wide variety of handcrafted gifts and works of art. A special holiday ambience will fill the downtown with music, beautiful decorations, horse-drawn carriages, ice sculptures, Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus, roasted chestnuts, and more. And by the way, we're still looking for a handful of vendors who might be interested, and they can apply at the visitor center. So that's what's happening downtown. Let me just kind of bring you up to date on a couple other things. One is the residential startups. You know, when the Great Recession hit 2008 or so, our housing startups went almost to nothing. In 2007 and 2008, we had 28 new residences that were permitted at a total investment of $7.2 million. And between October 2015 and October 2016, you know, after we had those single-digit building numbers, we had 34 new residential units for a total of about $6.6 million. So we can see that that market is coming back. I also wanted to mention that I just learned this a few days ago, but pleased to announce that the city has been notified by the Insurance Service Office, or ISO, that the city's ISO rating for building code enforcement was upgraded from 6 to a 4, the lower number the better, in both residential and commercial properties. Thanks to the City Council for updating the building codes, and to building official Mike Sutphin for his enforcement efforts. Both of these things, the code and the enforcement efforts, were cited as a reason for upgrading the upgraded rating. A big part of the residential development is occurring at Heritage Harbor. And after surviving the terrible Great Recession years, it is wonderful to see Heritage Harbor regaining its growth momentum. Thus far in 2016, Heritage Harbor closed on 25 sales, a record. And all the buyers are new to the area and joining the Heritage Harbor family. The final phase of the cottages at Heron's Landing development on the Illinois River was planned for 27 cottages, and only 1 is left to sell. The second phase of cottages is in the final planning stages. There are also now 11 cottages currently in the rental pool, with rental demand continuing to increase, and with 12 new boat slips added this year for a total of 143, the marina slips are all full. Heritage Harbor plans to continue its growth with an announcement in the near future of new residential offerings. We very much appreciate Heritage Harbor's partnership with the city, particularly with our festivals and its ongoing strong and creative marketing of Ottawa, particularly downtown Ottawa. And some of its new residents are actually investing in the downtown. So that's great to see, bringing new people and new investment into the community. Just mention briefly our NCAT service, that's our bus service. We established a new partnership the first of the year with the Bureau Putnam Area Rural Transit, or BART. BART handles our reservations and it also provides some administrative support. And as you might recall, federal and state grants, in addition to fares collected, fund the day-to-day operations and administrative expenses, and we are now providing over 60,000 rides annually throughout LaSalle County, the second largest county in the state. NCAT took over operation of the city's minibus system, and although the city contributes to NCAT, we do so at a substantial savings compared to the cost of running the standalone city system. We've made some new efforts in addressing blight in the community. There are about 25 abandoned houses in Ottawa where the owners have disappeared. Many of these houses have deteriorated beyond the point of repair and need to be demolished. The city is acquiring title of many of these properties, taking advantage of a blight reduction grant. So far, 7 houses have been demolished or are about to be demolished, and in 2 cases we were able to find buyers to rehab the houses, and we have 2 more under contract for rehabilitation. Another area of concern is the ash tree problem, problem that we've had caused by the emerald ash borer, and that's becoming more and more evident as you drive through Ottawa. The city identified 931 ash trees in public property. Thus far, we've removed 617 over a 2-year period, and hope that the final 314 trees will come down next year, possibly starting later this winter. It'll take many years to fully replace these losses. The city has begun to do so. We only planted 50 trees this year in replacement. We intend to pick up on that next year. And of course, we've learned our lessons from the elm disease and the ash tree disease, and we're planting a variety of species, so we'll never be impacted like this if there's another tree plague. I'm also pleased to report that the cleanup of one of the last remaining radium Superfund sites in Ottawa took a major step forward this year. That was on the state-owned property along Canal Road. All of the radium contamination soil was excavated and transported to a special waste site for outside disposal. Now only one of the original 14 cleanup sites remains, and that's near Route 6 and 71 east of town. That is the largest site and probably will take many years before it's remediated. So a lot of stuff about flood management here. You can go to the website if you want to see that. Let me talk a little bit about the police department, which under the leadership of Chief Brent Rolston continues to maintain its longtime standing as one of the most professional and progressive law enforcement agencies in the area. This is done, among other things, through the continued support of established successful programs such as the peer jury, the department's child abduction response team. Most recently, the Ottawa Police Department has created and implemented a crisis intervention team, and all employees will be trained in crisis intervention by the end of 2017. This training better equips officers and telecommunicators in handling calls for services dealing with mentally ill residents and helping start a process in developing long-term plans for those in need of additional services. Last year, the Ottawa Police Department responded to well over 15,000 squad calls. In September of this year, Officer Robert Nillis, a 16-year veteran of the department, was promoted to the rank of corporal. And in October, Officer Brendan Donahue, who's a 16-year veteran and has served as our DARE officer for the past 13 years, was also promoted to the rank of corporal. Both corporals Donahue and Nillis, upon promotion, were assigned to shifts as patrol supervisors. And finally, the police department continues to show its green side through the continued support of the prescription pill and drug disposal program. And to date, the department has collected more than 10,000 pounds of prescription medications from the public, and the whole point of this is to keep those chemicals out of landfills and the waterways. Over on the fire department side, the goal of our 25 sworn members of the department continues to be recognized by our community. They continue to be recognized by our community as a model of excellence in delivering fire protection and advanced life support, EMS, and other services. Under the direction of Commissioner Tom Gaynor, Fire Chief Steve Haywood, and Deputy Chief Andy Burkowski, the department continues to be dedicated to improving in every detail of service. In 2015, the firefighters completed over 47 hours of training, and our training calendar continues to be full of opportunities for not only our firefighters, but those of other communities who also take part. And it has a lot to do with the new ISO score that we received at the fire department. It's different from the ISO score I talked to you about as far as code enforcement. But the fire department's ISO rating has steadily improved over the years. It started out about 6 in 1999, it improved to 5, and we now have been informed that we have an ISO rating of 3. And that has a lot to do with insurance rates and how insurance companies charge for fire insurance. The department also provides paramedic services for EMS calls, and also we provide emergency and non-emergency transfer services in Ottawa and the surrounding area. The department continues to be busy and the most proactive department in the county. In 2015, the department responded to about 3,400 emergency calls and provided 605 interfacility transfers of patients. Let me now talk a little bit about public works, some of the things that Jay was alluding to. There's more there about just streets, there's stuff going on underground, all kinds of things. So let's talk a little bit about our wastewater division. This year, the city of Ottawa bonded and constructed a new $1.5 million flood protection wall around the wastewater treatment plant. The flood wall was set at 5 feet above the 100-year flood elevation of the Illinois River. This will keep the river from flooding the plant, which could cause $4 or $5 million damage per flood. This summer, the city also constructed a $500,000 Field Hills sanitary sewer project to serve existing Fields Hills subdivision residents with failing septic systems. Those properties being serviced by the new sewer will be annexed into the city in the coming months. And with local funds, the city completed a $1 million downtown sanitary sewer separation project in several downtown blocks, and in the process eliminated major flash flooding problems. While the torn up streets caused some inconvenience, a street resurfacing project was piggybacked on the sewer project, resulting in 10 blocks of new street surfaces in the downtown area. Finally, in the wastewater division, the city also bonded and is constructing a $2 million sanitary sewer to relieve sanitary backups and flooding on the city's south side. We call this the South Side Interceptor. And in the process, we're able to abandon 5 lift stations. These are mechanical stations where the waste is lifted, goes down to the next one, that are very costly to run and maintain. Basically, instead of using lift stations, we now use this really great concept called gravity. It just blows out the way, we don't have to do that. So we closed 5 lift stations, and construction of that will probably be completed in 2017. On the water division, with local funds, the city completed about a $600,000 looping of the Northside water mains, so that 2 large neighborhoods only served by small water pump stations now have consistent water pressure from the overhead tower and have looped redundant feeds. As far as streets, the city resurfaced 14 streets and 5 alleys totaling 42 blocks at an estimated cost of $1.2 million. We replaced over 3,600 feet of curbing, including 56 sidewalk ramps. The estimated cost of those projects was about $412,000. And as part of the CSO project, we also, on Madison Street, we put a lot of new curb, and we took up some of these excessively wide 16-foot sidewalks to create planting beds for grass, trees, and other plantings in front of storefronts. We talk a little bit about our parks and recreation programs. This year, following its motto, "Everybody Plays," the City of Ottawa and the Playground and Rec Board have worked to identify recreation needs and move to develop needed facilities. In 2016, the board continued to move forward with more improvements to the city recreation facilities at Lincoln Douglas Complex. They were additional improvements to Ottawa's newest baseball field, Whitney Field, and also phase 1 of the new inclusive playground with handicapped access play equipment, and that was installed recently, and just a few weeks ago we had a dedication of the playground. The Rec Board reaffirmed its commitment to safety by installing weather safety signs at all parks and supplying weather radios to all youth leagues. This past summer, the city's Riordan pool was open all possible days, improving its attendance over last summer. Riordan also hosted many community events such as the All-City Swim Meet, the citywide open house, as well as many private parties. And just as important as the facilities are, are the youth and adult activities sponsored by the Ottawa Playground and Rec Board. This year, Ottawa's Recreation Summer Youth Program offers supervisors at 8 parks, an Ottawa tradition unique among the surrounding communities. The summer recreation program featured over 45 special events, camps, and clinics teaching skills from art to basketball to bowling to photography to volleyball to tennis to wrestling. Overall, the Ottawa Rec Summer activities served over 3,100 of the young people of Ottawa and the surrounding communities. 3 years ago, the Conservation Foundation purchased 253 acres of farm and wooded land between the Fox River and Illinois Route 71 northeast of Ottawa as a conservation and native restoration area. Named the Dayton Bluffs Nature Preserve, and including a full mile of Fox River shoreline, the City of Ottawa partnered with the foundation to lease the preserve for 20 years at a minimal rate and annexing the property to the city. The foundation has spent almost 3 years pursuing an aggressive program of restoration and elimination of non-native species. And there's a lot of people, maybe some in this room, who are out there once a month cutting out the invasive species. In the spring of 2017, responsibility for operation of the preserve will pass to the city. In preparation, the city, along with the Conservation Foundation and local volunteers, are at work creating a master plan governing Dayton Bluff's ongoing conservation efforts and development of passive recreation activities such as hiking and bicycling. This planning process is being led by Upland Design, a Chicago-based firm with great experience in conservation property planning. A grand opening of the preserve, along with the unveiling of the master plan, is planned for May of next year. Let me tell you a little bit about some projects that I like to call in the works. This is pretty exciting because the city's been trying to do this for years. And that has to do with the pedestrian overpass over Route 80. Ottawa has a very dangerous situation where pedestrians and self-powered wheelchairs cross over Interstate 80 in the vehicle lanes on State Highway 23. A pedestrian bridge is needed to prevent fatalities. The city applied for and finally received a $2 million ITEP enhancement grant to construct this much-needed bridge. And this isn't exactly what it looked like, but I showed some of these ideas to IDOT, and they just kind of looked at me. That is the famous Gary Bridge in Chicago. But some of these things can be possible if there's a sponsor. For example, that bridge was sponsored by BP, so we thought maybe we could do something like that in Ottawa. And, well, there it is. Another project in the works is the Ottawa High School levee. The Ottawa Township High School levee was decertified, or de-accredited, I guess, by FEMA due to the higher base flood elevations. In other words, as floods get higher, the wall just isn't high enough anymore. And a plan to raise the levee has been approved by the Department of Natural Resources and the U.S. Corps of Engineers. The City of Ottawa is partnering with the high school in an application for FEMA funding for this levee project. I'd finally like to talk a little bit about the I&M Canal Rewatering Project. In my first State of the City address in 1999, I shared a vision of a stretch of canal passing through Ottawa, filled with clear water about 3 feet deep and 80 feet wide and over a mile long, where kids can learn to keep canoe and kayak in safety. Imagine visitors from Starved Rock stopping by in Ottawa to rent a paddleboat on the canal. Imagine kids having model powerboat racing events. Imagine ice skating for blocks on end, just like in the good old days. Well, it's now 17 years later, and the I&M Canal in Ottawa is still a dry ditch. The progress is being made. The volunteers are stepping forward to work on many aspects of the project. In addition, we are working with the Illinois National Guard Engineer Battalion for them to do the earthwork to recontour the canal bottom at no cost to the city in the summer of 2018 as part of their training exercise. U.S. Silica can supply a continuous flow of clean water from what it is already pumping out of its pits, allowing us to reclaim and reuse that water and not waste it. A special thanks to the canal volunteers and especially Arnie Vanstra for all of the volunteer efforts. So I just want to say that I think this can be done. It's one of these projects where you don't have to buy the land, it's there, you don't have to engineer it, it's been engineered, we just got to get our act together. These pictures, by the way, are from Delphi, Indiana. So let's talk a little bit more about tourism. Ottawa continues to be a strong position for significant tourism growth. And in fact, boosted by Ottawa's nearness to Chicago, the natural beauty surrounding Ottawa and our beautiful downtown, filled with unique shopping and dining opportunities, not to mention our proximity to Starved Rock. One could easily make the case that tourism is now Ottawa's fastest growing industry. Under the leadership of Kurt Badai, the Ottawa Visitor Center continues to play an important role in promoting Ottawa tourism. Examples of its creative marketing initiatives, including the current Live Buffalo No Bull campaign, which is attracting considerable social media attention, and the selection of Ottawa for a Travels with Darley program. And Travels with Darley is a popular web series which can now be seen on public television. The show's host is a young woman by the name of Darley Newman, who takes viewers to unique and interesting travel locations all across the Western Hemisphere. The program places a special emphasis on involving local perspectives and people. And Darley was in Ottawa recently, had the chance to spend the morning with her and her crew. And the show about Ottawa is expected to appear on PBS sometime next year. According to Kurt Badai, Darley and her production crew were quite impressed with the town. A few of their comments included, blew our expectations away. There are a lot of gems in Ottawa, Illinois, who would have thought? I'm sure the Ottawa Visitor Center will let us know when Travels with Darley's Ottawa program is scheduled to air. And the Ottawa Visitor Center and the Brush with History Mural Committee worked diligently this year to complete the city's 9th mural, Open for Business, on the south wall of the First National Bank on Madison Street. This mural was created to fit within the turn-of-the-century stone bank facade, which was removed from an old bank building in Ransom, transported, and later reassembled on the First National Bank building in downtown Ottawa. Thanks to the folks at First National Bank for their support of this project. And in addition, the Visitor Center is working with the Mural Committee to perform routine maintenance on the existing murals, and some of that was done just in the past few weeks. As the gateway to Starved Rock, Ottawa stands to benefit tremendously from supporting the Starved Rock Country brand program. It should be noted this effort is aimed at not only attracting visitors, but also convincing some of these visitors to move to Ottawa and Starved Rock Country. For example, it appears many retirees in the Chicago and Chicago suburban areas are deciding to flee the quality of life and challenges in that area. And unfortunately, a large number of these people are leaving the state of Illinois, taking with them their talents and financial resources. We strongly believe that if these retirees were better informed about the quality of life in Ottawa and Starved Rock Country, many of them would decide to enjoy their retirement years here. Economic development is not the only benefit of tourism. The new attractions, shops, and restaurants supported by tourists also enhance the quality of life for the residents of Starved Rock Country. Not only does this enhanced quality of life make retention of our young people more likely, as they now have more to do, it also bolsters the efforts of local businesses and industry to attract badly needed talented professionals and their spouses. I'm very happy to be able to announce today that Ottawa will become a cruise ship destination next year, with the Bahamas and Puerto Vallarta. A little bit different though. The American Duchess will be making 6 stops in Ottawa in August of 2017. It's a 166 passenger luxury cruise ship operated by the American Queen Steamboat Company, which is headquartered in Memphis. Now, this isn't the American Duchess, it's under construction, but it's kind of the type of ship it will be. The American Duchess is a little bit shorter at 320 feet, but it consists of totally upscale suites plus a grand dining room capable of seating all 166 passengers at once. It will have a crew of 83. It will dock at the west end of Allen Park, just downstream from the historic railroad bridge, which at 48 feet off the water is too low to accommodate the American Duchess's 55-foot air draft. A key part of the new river cruise experience will be a very attractive onshore excursion in downtown Ottawa and Starved Rock Country. And this is really modeled after the river excursions and cruises that you see all over Europe. Basically, the whole goal is to get to the next town, to walk around, to get on the buses and so forth, to tour the area. More details about this will soon be available. It should be noted, though, that the Ottawa stops of the American Duchess will provide the possibility of introducing nearly 1,000 new shoppers and diners to downtown Ottawa. Closely tied to the downtown beautification and revitalization is Ottawa's annual entry into the National American in Bloom competition. Last year, Ottawa was awarded a special national award for the most dynamic transformation of the downtown streetscape. This year, I'm pleased to report that while the first place, we did not win first place in our population category, which went to House of Massachusetts, Ottawa again did very well, placing a very close second and receiving a maximum 5 Bloom rating. Ottawa also received a Special Heritage Preservation Award, in part for its practice of purchasing endangered historic buildings and reselling to new owners intending to rehab them and put them back into commercial use. An additional special project award was received by the city for its efforts to create a garden at Central School for children with special needs. The Ottawa's Blooming Committee is our local American Bloom campaign committee. These awards were all announced at the American Bloom National Symposium on California's Central Coast. Attendance at this event was made possible for a number of Ottawa volunteers through the generosity of Mick Rao and Grand Rapids Enterprises, who paid for the airfare and hotel fares. Is Mick here today? We invited him. I'm not sure he made it. I want to give a special thanks to Mick. And I would like to add that I hope in the next few years, it's our desire at least, that Ottawa will actually host the American Bloom Symposium. We think we've got a lot to show other communities, and I think we're working to get our name on the list. Finally, with respect to Ottawa Bloom, let me also note the continued work of the Public Arts Subcommittee of Ottawa's Blooming, chaired by accomplished mosaic artist Susan Burton. Thanks to Susan's work, another totem pole sculpture was added to LaSalle Street. Susan's mosaic artwork also enriched the wine festival. Susan also needs to be recognized for her chairing of the very successful Wine and Art Walk held in Ottawa just a few weeks ago. And if you pass by the Lone Buffalo, you'll see examples of her work, her mosaic flower, and one of her benches out in front of the building. Susan's here with us today, too. Susan, thank you. Oh, there they are. A few years ago, the city's Historic Preservation Commission was successful in gaining federal approval of its new historic district, which takes in almost all of the structures on Ottawa's east side and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This year, the commission is arranging for the placement of historic period street signage in the district, drawing attention to and instilling pride in this historic neighborhood. Reddick Mansion continues to remain the crown jewel of Ottawa's historic architectural heritage and is a must-see by many visitors. The Reddick Mansion Association, through a lease agreement with the city, has lovingly restored and tended to the mansion for decades. Last year, I reported that the City and Mansion Association were working to finalize a new lease. Since then, the old lease has expired, and the parties are continuing to negotiate. One proposal the city made was to essentially gift the mansion to the association and commit to an annual contribution to the association for the continued upkeep and restoration of the mansion. As of this date, we still don't have an agreement, but we're still working on it. We'll talk just a little bit about the city finances. Again, this is something, if you're interested in, you can go on the website. It gives kind of a breakdown of where our funds come from. Just a couple highlights I'd like to point out. The good news is the city's assessed evaluation is continuing to increase. We had small decreases for a lot of years during the tough times. For the second year in a row, we've seen our assessed valuation increase, which is important because the more higher the assessed valuation, the less the tax rate has to be to bring in the same amount of money to run services. Our sales tax revenues also continue to increase each year, which is real good. That's really the main source of funding for our general fund. We're now receiving about $250,000 a year from the city's share from state-authorized gaming machines that are located in Ottawa. We continue to use our tax-increment financing districts and enterprise zones to encourage new businesses. And I'm pleased to report that, and this is kind of unusual, everybody's talking about how health insurance rates are going up, but for the more than 150 participants in the city's self-insured health plan, we will not see an increase in 2017 premiums. Active city employees fund 20% of the premium, non-Medicare retirees fund 25% of the premium, with the city funding the remaining. And in addition to that, the city's Medicare supplement plan we'll actually see an overall decrease in premium by about 9% for 2017. I'm not sure how we've done that, but that's great news. Just a couple final things. I usually like to maybe focus on one of our many boards and committees and commissions that serve the city. This year I'd like to say a few words about the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. This board oversees testing and hiring of new police officers and firefighters, and oversees promotion and rank in the police and fire departments. Current members of the board are Ken Brown, Cliff Espovic, and Dr. Dave Mangold. And one of these dedicated volunteers stepping down from the board at the end of the year, Cliff Espovic, has honored the city with 25 years of service on the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. And he served as secretary, I think all, if not almost all, of those 25 years. Cliff and his wife Carol are here today with us today. On behalf of the City Council and previous administrations, I want to express our sincere gratitude to Cliff for the many, many hours of volunteer service. And Cliff is right here. So. Last year we had all kinds of retirements in the city. This year we just had a few. Bob Schull, from our appointed staff, retired after 14 years of service. Tommy Catrine, our part-time building enforcement or nuisance enforcement officer, retired after 8 years of service. And the police department, Officer Al Hyde, retired after 20 years of service. I want to thank them all and wish them a happy retirement. Final thing I want to talk about just briefly is it's really not a city board or commission, but I think it's very important to our community. And that's the newly formed Starved Rock Community Foundation, Starved Rock Country Community Foundation. Over the past year, after many, many years of planning, the Starved Rock Country Community Foundation became a reality. The new community foundation is moving ahead quickly under the leadership of President Pamela Beckett. The foundation matches people who care with causes that matter. It builds financial capacity throughout LaSalle, Bureau, and Putnam counties, which results in grant making to charitable organizations across Starved Rock Country. Although hardly a year old, the foundation has already achieved the following. It has grown to 13 board members from across the region with public support of over $413,000. I am pleased to be one of the board members, along with Tom Heimseth, Boyd Palmer, Tom Justice, and Larry Windsor from the Ottawa area. The foundation is headquartered at 718 Columbus Street. It has established 14 new funds, including 3 scholarship funds led by the Dick and Carol Janko Scholarship for Promising Entrepreneurs. It has launched a Women's Giving Circle under the auspices of the Women's Inspired Network, which has been created in partnership with the OSF Foundation. It has started the Youth and Philanthropy Organization to educate youth ages 10 through 12 about philanthropy. It has stepped up to preserve the Starved Rock Country Marathon and made it profitable for the first time. It has now transformed management of the event to a local group formed specifically to run the event called the Starved Rock, I don't know what it's called, but it's for Starved Rock Country. And finally, the largest endowment fund thus far was created by my sister Sharon Eschbaugh Coleman and her late husband Ken Coleman, which she named after me, for the purpose of positively impacting Ottawa over the years to come. And I'd like to recognize Sharon. She's sitting here with us today from Seattle. Thank you, and my brother Jim's here too. The foundation has a website under construction and an operational Facebook page. Please learn more about the organization, which has the potential to help raise our quality of life throughout Starved Rock Country. So, in a nutshell, that pretty much sums up the current state of the city of Ottawa. I continue to consider it an honor and a privilege to be mayor of a community on the move. I continue to be amazed at the number of citizens who step up to the plate and volunteer their time and resources to make great things happen. And I appreciate my fellow elected officials. My staff are a great group of hardworking employees. I thank them all and all of you here for working to make Ottawa a more livable and lovable community. Thank you.
mayor's remarks that there was paper and pencil at each table for questions, but we
There's
just,
one question I can use. Who's your favorite sister?
if you've got a question for the mayor, just put up your hand and, anybody? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Please welcome Boyd Plummer.
Thank you, Mayor, for a report well done. And I think I can safely say that Ottawa has shown a tremendous improvement from the first day you stepped into office. And I hope you continue to stay in that office for a while. I want to leave you with one thought before we adjourn. The rate of change today is extraordinary. And the city and the chamber and the visitor center of the future need to take it into account before embarking on their adventure of a lifetime. I want to thank you all for coming and hope to see you here next year when we can report another mayor's report of great improvement in our city. Thank you.